right, welcome everyone. This is a benefit class for the Dreamcatcher Foundation, um, and it is a little bit of a different time than when I'm used to streaming classes. So, welcome to the afternoon or evening if you're on the East Coast practice. This practice will be less strengthening than my typical Hatha Yoga practice, and definitely less so than the Vinyasa, which are the classes I lead on Thursday and Saturday, respectively. It will involve some muscle tone, so it's not like completely effortless, but it's mostly focusing around relaxation, stretching, and just letting go and releasing all throughout the body. So we've got some stretches for every little area of the body and a few little muscle engagement exercises that will help us with good circulation and to feel nice and warmed up. So anyway, thank you for joining. Thank you for contributing for this excellent cause. There is a link in the description below for you to donate. And if you are not able to donate financially, you can share with people. And also, this is an ongoing cause that needs contributions. So maybe you're having a difficult time right now, but later you're abundant. So feel free to give down the road, if not today, or both. So anyway, thank you again for being here. We're going to start with some nice recline stretches. So go ahead and lay down. Take some deep breath. And just notice how you feel. You take a little bit more breath each time you breathe in. And work on smoothing out the exhale as you breathe out and let go. So you continue to refine the breath. If you're not at your deepest breath yet, if it takes you a little while, that's totally fine. Just keep adding a little bit more volume to the breath until you get to that point where you're breathing your fullest breath. Inhale and really expand. You exhale all the breath out and let go. We can bring the inner legs together a little bit more. Bend the right knee into chest. And if you're really stiff in your muscles, you can just hold behind the leg, otherwise holding the shin and hugging the knee in a little bit more. Roll your ankle out, very smooth. Still breathing deep. Do 3 or 4 in both directions. Good. Now holding the knee, do a little light circle with the hip joint. And both directions. Release. Right leg to ground. Take a deep breath in. Take the left knee to chest. Keep your neck long on the floor. Maybe use a cushion under your head if you really need. Roll your ankle. So smooth. That's good. Do both directions, working all those little Rice Krispies out of the ankle joint. Noise is perfectly natural so long as it's not accompanied with pain. Don't worry about that. When you've done your reps, both directions, we'll hold the kneecap, roll the hip socket very gently. And both directions. Good. Now bring both knees to chest. Give yourself a nice hug. You can be still if you like, or you can gently roll around on the back. And lower the feet to the ground. Bring the feet together and have the knees open. Arrange your arms however you like. I like to leave my hands over my head or sometimes under my head. Sometimes it's nice just to have them outside alongside the body or breathing into the hands, placing them on the chest and abdomen. Whatever feels really good for you. We're just going to spend about a minute here. Let gravity stretch open the hips for you. Take time to relax and just breathe. Slowly lift the knees, hug them into the chest again. And keeping the feet together, we're going to extend the legs to the ground. Bend the knees back into chest without holding with the hands. So we're working the core here a little bit. We'll do that 2 more times. And knees to chest. Now open the arms a little bit. Take the legs to the left and keep the body twisting right with the right shoulder blade grounding down. If you need an easier stretch, put your arm or maybe a block under the legs. If you want a deeper stretch, you can use your hand on top of the top leg. And really keep twisting the mid and upper back so you ground both shoulders and breathe into the full range of that stretch. Try and relax, not just in the main areas, but subtle places as well. The forehead, space between the eyes, cheeks, and chin, and the jaw. Just relaxing all through the body. Take a breath or 2 more. Really deep quality breath. Good. We're going to slowly scoot our way into the next side. And again, emphasize the twisting of the mid spine so your shoulders are down. You could really twist your low back and let your shoulder pop up, but that's not nearly as good as really grounding through the shoulder so you get a twist all through the spine. And then either your arm under the legs or on top to get a little bit of leverage. Full deep breathing. Nice long neck. And when we're doing these recline poses, if you're ever feeling really compressed in your neck, maybe a folded towel under your head or neck can really be helpful. Stay with the breath a few more rounds. Very good. Come back to center. Align yourself on the center of the mat. Make sure the back of the neck is lengthened. And have the feet parallel. We're going to inhale to a partial bridge. Just lift part way. And try and roll the spine down really smoothly. And do that a few more times. Lifting just part way. Keep the knees and feet parallel. And it may feel good to lift a little higher. If you were using a cushion under the head, you'd want to avoid doing that. If you're lifting to a deeper bridge, you lift higher, the knees tend to spread apart, but try keeping them hugged in. And that's much better for your muscles, for your knees, for your sacrum and low back. And we'll do a few more. Moving as we're breathing. If your breath has a lot of endurance, you may still move slow but be breathing longer than you move. That's totally fine. The main thing is that you want to move smooth and breathe smooth. That's good. We'll switch back to knees to chest and either roll to the side and slowly come up, or maybe hold the backs of the legs, rock back, rock up. And we're going to take a nice seated pose. So draw the hips back. And we're going to work on sitting really tall with a strong spine. So the first option is to take fingertips and push to lift the chest. And then if you can keep that tall spine, the lifted chest, the engaged core, lift the arms. If your neck or shoulders are really sore, lift them part way. If you can lengthen while keeping your trapezius low, then do that and be active through the fingers and active in the feet. Very good. Relax it all. Slowly shift to a nice hands and knees position. I recommend being a little bit long. It's going to be less of a back bend that way, but that's the point. That's what we want actually. Kind of neutral back and then rounded back. Being long helps us to access the low abs as well. And we're rounding and then just lengthen to neutral. You don't need to lift the head too much. It's a little hard on the discs, especially before we're born. So we'll roll out the back a few more times. Rounding with the hands. Feel the shoulder blades parting. You round. And then lengthen and bring gentle muscle tone into the back body with that neutral extension. Good. When we're complete with that, we're going to take a nice downward dog stretch. So push into the legs, lift the hips high. If your hamstring muscles or calves are really tight, let the heels be up and consider bending the knees. The main thing you want to avoid is having your shoulders way forward. You want to lift up and back with the shoulders and hips, feet parallel, and eventually you can ground more into the legs. We'll bend the knees side to side, one at a time, a few times. Still breathing deep. Creating a nice rhythm of the breath and feeling your rhythm in your body as well. Good. Both sides are stretched out. We're going to walk up to the front of the mat. And if you have tight hamstrings, again, wider feet and bent knees can help. We're going to fold the arms into each other and let the head hang down completely. So you rest the neck, stretch through the back, stretch through the back of the legs. Feet are parallel. 2 more breaths. Very nice. And now bend the knees, make the back flat, and stand up tall. Arms lift, abs in, and hands to heart. We'll go ahead and take the right hand on the hip, lift the left arm, and take a nice big lateral bend. Stretching. Think of a release, not just in the side of the body, but from the side of the foot all the way through the fingertips. And you can use that hand for a little bit of leverage if that feels good. Breathe. And switch sides. Keeping the chest open, abdomen supporting the back, not tense, but drawing in a bit. Good. And then relax. Maybe have a slightly wider stance. Roll the shoulders a few times. And do both directions. Nice. Roll out the wrists. And do both directions. And another exercise for the wrists, we'll do a little house painting. So the arms come up, the fingers are down, and then you push through the palms, and arms come down, and do a few more rounds. Breathe in and breathe out. And again, if you're an endurance athlete, your lungs might be phenomenal. So maybe you're breathing really long and still not rushing the movement, but breathing longer than you move. No problem. Just have both be smooth. And notice how that helps create smooth sensation in your emotional state and your mental state as well. It ultimately helps you just to be a very smooth person. That's my secret to being as smooth as I happen to be. Indeed, very smooth operator. Okay, good. And we're done with that. On many levels, we'll move on. Take a forward salute. Draw into the core, have a neutral back or open back a little bit if that feels good. And then exhale, downward dog. Have the head down, hips high, press into the hands. Press into every single part of your hand if you can. The middle fingers should be parallel. You're really lifting out of the shoulders. A lot of times when our shoulders are wonky, we have one hand maybe more forward. I use the edge of my mat just to measure and make sure that's not the case. When the shoulders are off, your hands can be off, and it'll feel even when it's not. So just be aware of that. You work on your alignment. You have to think a little bit, and then you tune out and just focus on the breath. Get into that nice Zen-like state. And let's take a child's pose with the knees wide. So this will help us to release our back, our thighs, and our hips by having wide knees. Best in child, if your neck prohibits you from having your head on the ground, fold your arms like that, or have your arms reaching way forward and stretching through the shoulders, armpits, and chest. Good, let's come back to a long hands and knees position. I like to position my wrists a little on the forward side so my shoulders aren't pushing beyond them. And then I move my legs back and take a nice plank with a very flat back, or even kind of rounding like a cat tuck. And that helps you to draw in the core, not compress your lumbar or bring tension in the space between the shoulder blades. You want to part between the shoulder blades and really lift out of the shoulders. And we're done with that. We put the knees on the ground, lower all the way. Take an inhale to an easy cobra. And exhale, release. Inhale to a half locust where you lift the chest, keep the feet down, and then arms back. Exhale, lower. And inhale, lift arms and legs, locust stretch. Work on rolling the femurs in a bit so you don't crunch your sacrum. The shoulders are open, which opens the chest. Breathing deep into that space. And then come on down and turn the head to the right. And just take some time to breathe. Relax all your muscles. Very good. Head comes back to center. Now clasp the hands if you can. And just lift the chest while stretching the shoulders. The feet stay down. Deep breath. Notice the difference of this variation. If you prefer your hands apart like we did before, no problem. Otherwise, this deepened shoulder stretch is really nice to open up the chest and shoulders and release tension that we might store in the upper back. And with that, we'll lower, turn the head to the other direction and let all the muscles rest. Ready, bring the head back to center position. Place the hands a little higher and wider than the shoulders, and then slowly lift to a cobra. You don't have to lift too high, just lift to the level that feels right for you. And keep stretching back through the feet and ankles. The shoulders will commonly kind of tense up against the neck, but it's better if you just keep it low and you stay buoyant in the chest. And we'll go ahead and release. And take the left arm under the head, stretch the right thigh, have the foot a little bit wider than the hip, and that does a couple things. It gives you more space to eventually stretch deeper, and it creates an internal rotation for the hip, which is nice to release the iliac spine, the back of the hip, and the sacrum. Good. We'll switch to the other side. Deep, deep breath. Nice, long, slow exhale. Very nice. Release from the stretch and then stretch the arms completely overhead. If your neck or shoulders are sore, you can keep the hands near the chest. Otherwise, just briefly lifting the arms and the legs. This is a very good posture for circulation and building great strength in the posterior core. We'll go ahead and lower down. Place the elbows now under the shoulders or a little bit on the wide side, and emphasize lifting the chest in the sphinx stretch. Stay in the basic form. If your back or neck feels really tight, you can have your arms further forward and much wider. Otherwise, you can also optionally lengthen the arms, but only if that's feeling really good for you. You still want to keep the shoulders low as you aim to lift, free up in the sternum, breathing deep into the heart and lungs. Very good. Release down. Place the hands back alongside the chest. Lift to neutral. And we'll take one more plank. So have flat or kind of rounded back. Activate the legs. Push back through the heels. You'll actually stretch your calves a little bit by doing that. We'll do two more breaths. And then from the plank, put the knees down. Take the right arm under. You can lay down a little bit, or if it feels good, you can really release into it and breathe. Switch sides, nice and gracefully. Deep breath. Very nice. Let's switch to a sitting pose for a seated twist. Now, it feels really good for me to sit on my heels, my toes pointed back, but if that's not feeling good for your knees or ankles, sit any way that you can. Have upright spine. We'll take a nice twist to the right. And eventually your arm can wrap around a little bit more. If your neck is sore, just look neutral. Otherwise, turn the chest and let the head follow. 5 deep breaths here. Notice if you're tightening in on your shoulders, try and lift both of them back, but still using a little bit of leverage on this thigh here. Go deep into the spine. Twists are really good to improve your digestion, and they're also very calming for the nervous system, especially the recline twists. Very good. Let's do the other side. Hold the hand on the thigh, or whatever leverage point works for you. Start gradually and then deepen slowly into a very nice deep twist. Shoulders open, chest freeze up on both sides, and breathe into that heart space. Come back to center. Let's take a big step up with the right foot. You need to take multiple steps. You want the knee to be above the ankle. We'll take a basic runner's lunge here. You have the option of lifting a little bit, holding the thigh, or it might feel good to lift all the way. The hips will commonly move to the side to compensate. It's better if you just keep them squaring. And if you really want to emphasize a deep stretch, you can bring your arms back and free up in the chest. Make sure you're just doing this if it feels great, not just to try and go harder. More isn't always better. It's good. Stay with your breathing, very concentrated, while also keeping it light. And we'll take a nice hamstring stretch here. So hands down and drawing the hips back. If your hamstring is really tight, you can leave the knee bent like this. Otherwise, you lengthen the leg and you really try and lengthen the back. So a couple things. When you're hinging at your hips and not rounding over into it, you keep the spine stretching more, and that naturally stretches the hamstring more versus rounding, like really dipping down will stretch your ham, but it doesn't provide healthy posture for the spine. So you get a lot of benefit by really lengthening like that. And then we're going to round the back and kind of roll as a little spinal wave movement and lengthen back into the lunge. Slowly switch sides. You're always welcome to take extra time. I like to use my hand to help get good length, stepping that left foot up. See how I have my knee right above the heel or ankle area? That's very healthy for the knee. Open toes. Basic lunge. Option to take a little bit of a lift, maybe even an upright lift. Knee and foot should track directly forward. And option. Final option is arms back. This is stretching your chest and contracting the muscles in your back. So if your back's sore from a hard workout, whatever you've done previously, maybe contracting it more is not good. But if it's working for you now, enjoy all the benefits. Keep squaring the hips, aligning with the core, staying true to the breath. And we'll do one more half split. So we'll bring the hands back a little bit. Remember your option to keep the knee bent, but if you can lengthen the leg and then stay upright in the chest, really lengthen the spine. That's why you use fingertips here to keep that extra height. Work your little toes back equally with your big toes. Keep the hips centering. A few more rounds, quality breath. Emphasizing the lift and the reaching forward through the chest so the spine is long. Rounding the back, rolling to a runner, placing the hands forward, and then taking the down dog. Down dog with active legs, or bend the knees as you need. Keep lifting out of the shoulders, let the head relax down completely so the neck is free. The next pose is going to be a toe stretch. So we're going to kneel down, keep the toes tucked under, and if you can, sit on the heels. You may want to sit on a stack of pillows. You could lean forward and keep the toes stretching, but hold with the hands to bear the weight. But if you're able to have your shoulders right above the feet so that the weight goes right into that stretch, then that's nice. We're going to lift the arms and do a reverse prayer. This is a nice stretch for the back of the arms, opens the chest and shoulders, and we're working on stretching the thighs and the feet. If your feet are really killing you, you can lift up a bit or just modify the way you're sitting and just focus on the shoulder stretch. Otherwise, the full pose for a few more breaths. Very good. Let's go ahead and practice kind of a side bend in child's pose. So we're going to lay down into child and then move the arms over to the right and really let the side of the body get that nice deep release. It's good for the lymph. It's good to stretch the lateral muscles, and it opens up the ribs as well. And we'll go ahead and take the other side. Deep breath. Smoothing out the exhale, making it long and slow. Nicely done. Let's go ahead and slowly lift and readjust. And the next stretch is going to be a seated straddle. So we'll open up the legs. And if you're very flexible, you open really far. And if you're newer to this, you open just a little bit. Try and open up pretty equally and take a stretch to the right leg. Feel free just to hold the shin, or eventually one hand, maybe both hands to the foot. do your best to relax in the neck and shoulders. It's mainly stretching the legs and the hip, but you don't want to tense up where you don't need to. You don't need to transfer the stress from one part of the body to the other. You can have full relaxation through the body. Go ahead and enjoy doing that on the other side. Start slow and maybe hold one hand to foot, maybe both, and breathe. Softening the shoulders, a little bit of an extending forward, or at least extending to the main foot with the chest, but surrendering the neck and head. Very good. Release from that stretch. Bring the legs closer together. We're going to switch now to a square pose. So it's a square base, and if your ankles hurt pressing into the floor, you can back up so you're on the mat. But you want to keep moving your ankles over until the knees and the ankles are square. Draw the sitting bones back, bend down a little bit, and if it feels good, go nice and deep into it. Advanced students could have their forward ankle up on the top thigh, but this is typically a pretty good stretch, especially if you do cycling or strength training for your glutes. They can tend to get a little bit tight, and this helps to release that. It's also really nice for the back, not having too much tension in the glutes. Nicely done. Let's go ahead and do that on the other leg. For these sitting poses, sometimes sitting on padding, like a blanket or a towel, can be very helpful. We're just manually drawing the natural padding of the hips back. And we have our square base, not to be confused with ankle in front of ankle, like a triangle base for meditation, but we're really working joints over to make this square base, and we lean down into the square stretch. Release the neck. You're letting the back sort of round down a bit, but not slouching and rounding excessively. There's still a sense of reaching forward through the chest. If you have delicate knees, be very conservative with how far you go. Make sure you can breathe smoothly all the while. Excellent. Let's go ahead and release from that stretch. And we'll do a little bit more time on the back. So make sure you have enough space. Roll back and down with the core. Knees to chest. And feet to ground. Open the feet and bend the knees in. And enjoy releasing in the sacrum. Very good. Bring the feet together. Now open up the arms a little bit, lengthen the left leg, spin up onto the left hip, and take this nice jackknife twist. If this is too much of a twist for you, or you just prefer the basic, it can be like we did in the beginning when the knees were together. Otherwise, Otherwise, a little bit of a deeper twist. And try and relax the glutes on both sides as you melt into the pose. And we'll go ahead and gradually unwind. Let's take the stretch on the other side. Take your time. Just like in the early version of this, you want to keep your shoulder grounded, and that will give you a nice stretch in your mid and upper back, as well as the low back, the hip, and the side of the thigh. Enjoy how you can expand the stretch with the inhale and relax and let go more with each exhale. If there's one side that feels a little tighter, you're welcome to spend extra time on that. Maybe go back to the first side if that were the case, or if this side feels tighter, you can hold it as long as you like. Ultimately, just waiting until we have this feeling of evenness. And when that feeling arrives for you, you gradually come out of the pose, take a nice knees to chest, and we're going to invert the legs. And this takes a little bit of strength. So if your legs are tired, just put them on the floor and do Shavasana early. Otherwise, before Shavasana, we're going to do one more thing where we invert the legs. You're also welcome to move to the wall, put the legs up the wall. It's a great way to help the legs recover. And that can be your Shavasana, that can be your deep relaxation pose. Otherwise, we take a few more breaths here. Nice long legs. Enjoying the blood flow, just naturally working towards the heart for purification, not having to work so much to make that circulation happen from the feet to the heart. And eventually taking the full release to the ground. We're going to do a few minutes of deep relaxation laying down. And it sounds like my toddler just woke up, so if he has a little bit of an outburst, you can turn the volume down. You're welcome to do a very long deep relaxation. Turn the volume off, do 10 to 15 minutes. Otherwise, a few minutes should do the trick, and then we'll conclude our practice. Just lay down, close the eyes, relax, and let the breath, body, mind, and emotions be very soft. ready, wiggle the fingers and toes. Gradually come back to the body. Take a little knees to chest. And then come upright to a nice closing seat of your choice. Sit nice and tall. Breathe deep. We're going to do a clearing breath and a round of Om. Inhale through the nose. Open mouth, exhale. And one round of Om. Breathe in. Namaste. Wonderful, everyone. Thanks so much for joining. Thanks for supporting the cause of preventing kidnapping, trafficking, and a long list of horrific crimes that are disproportionately effective towards Indigenous women. So Dreamcatcher Foundation can be supported by clicking the link in the description below. So send a donation as you see fit, small amount, large amount, whatever serves you in terms of how you're doing financially after the pandemic. I also put the links for my friend Shana Powis, who started this foundation. So I listed her Instagram, her Linktree, her website. She's a wonderful person and a very inspirational athlete. So if you haven't yet, please give her a follow and thank her for all the work she does on and off the bike. And thank you to her from me. So anyway, hopefully this was just what you needed. This is a live stream, but it will be saved. So if you really like this, come back to it. I have a whole library of videos of various lengths and levels and themes. So check those out. I'm typically live streaming Thursday morning at 10:30 and Saturday morning also at 10:30 California time. Thursday is Hatha Yoga, Saturday is Vinyasa, and I do various classes as sort of a pop-up like this one we did today. So check that out. Check out my website, GabrielBenjaminYoga.com. I'm leading cycling tours with yoga in the near future and have a bunch of other wonderful events and programs coming up as we get back to somewhat of normalcy. So thank you again. Drink water, eat good food, be kind to yourself and those around you. And I will see you in the near future. Ciao.